Welcome to the Plymouth Select Board meeting of January 14th, 2025. Please join the board in the salute to the flag, pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Brandisi.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here this evening. My name is Derek Brandisi. I'm your town manager. So as you all know, this is not a rally for the Plymouth Independent. This is an event. This is an event for Mr. Matthew Muratori. And it's not a roast either. Before we begin, we have a number of speakers here this evening. I think we have 15. So a lot of folks, when they heard about the selectmen wanting to acknowledge the great work of Mr. Muratori, we put the call out and said we're going to be doing this at a select board meeting. And so many folks, all you are here today, wanted to be a part of that and wanted to say a few words for Matt. But before we begin, I just want to make a couple recognitions. First and foremost, I want to thank Scott Hokinson for his Card My Yard. Where is Scott? I know he's, oh, there he is. Thank you, Scott. Scott's, for a couple of events, has done this big Card My Yard stuff, and so we appreciate him always donating that to our events. So thank you, Scott. And Mr. Quintal, our chairman, for catering this event. Thank you, Mr. Quintal. And we have a number of elected officials with us here today. Certainly, Representative Matthew Muratori and his family, but our former Senate President Therese Murray is here. Former Senator Vinnie DiMacedo is here. Representative Kathy Lenatra. Representative Michelle Badger is here, our new representative. And then from the 9th Worcester District, which is, and some people call it the Gun District, Grafton, Upton, and Northbridge, Representative David Meridian. I know David from my past experience. And Representative Michael Day is also here. And then Representative Mark Sylvia is also here. Where is Mark? Oh, there he is. Okay, couldn't see you there. And then we have a number of, and as you all know, our select board members are here. Chairman Dick Quintal, Vice Chair Kevin Canny, Member Charlie Bletzer, Member John Mahoney, Member David Golden. From the school committee, we have Catherine Jackson, Bob Morgan, and Christina Bryant. Thank you for coming. And then from the planning board, Steve Bulletin. So thank you for all of our elected officials for being here this evening. Oh, and then Sheriff McDonald. I know I talked to the sheriff earlier, so thank you, Sheriff McDonald, as well for being here. So as we move forward, again, like I mentioned earlier, we have over 15 folks who want to say a few words to acknowledge everything that Matthew has done. We didn't put that chair for Matt. He put that there himself. He wanted to make sure he was the center of tonight's attention, so good job, Matt. But just before we turn it over to the former Senate President, I just want to say a few words to Matt from myself. So, you know, Matt and I started working 3 years ago. We didn't really know each other much when I was the assistant town manager. He wouldn't speak to anybody beneath the town manager. So we didn't really get to know each other then. But over the last 3 years, Matt has been the person that the town would go to when we needed something, whether it was filed special legislation, advocating for additional dollars. He was always there for us, and he's done so much for Plymouth, you know, at the State House for the last 10 years, and I appreciate that. He's been a staunch advocate, as you all know, for Plymouth. But more importantly, you know, he's been a friend. He's been a friend to me over the 3 years. There's a couple of times I've been probably in hot water at town meeting, and Matt's always sat there and shoot me a text message, give me some good friendly advice, and it's helped. So I appreciate that, Matt. I appreciate everything you've done for me over the time. So without further ado, I'm going to toss this off to our former Senate President, Therese Murray.
One thing Matt didn't do was get a better sound system for this courthouse. Now, if you go to my courthouse down the street, they have a good sound system. I don't think so. This is the Mathis courthouse. But I was just looking at this table filled with all of these wonderful things that's going to present you, and where are the police? I never got anything like that. Just pointing out, I never received any of this stuff, but I do have a courthouse with my name on it, so I think I'll take that instead, okay? I'm good. But I'm glad to be here for Matt this morning, and this evening, and I'm also going to be here for Lee Filson, who has some oral surgery and is unable to come, and wants me to make sure everybody knows how much you've done for tourism for this town and the county, really, which you really have stepped up amazingly. Plymouth was always on the bottom of the ladder till we got in, Vinny, myself, and Matt, and we were able to make sure that Plymouth always was on the table when the budget came out, or no matter what our needs were. And Matt has done so much that you probably don't know. The lights that the people are finally getting at Pine Hills is because Matt sat with the people up there and worked with them to make sure, and just to give my sister some credit, she kind of organized that, put it together, but no one would listen. Matt listened, and he made sure that the lights were up, because they told him it was impossible, wasn't going to happen. For tourism, we get more tourism dollars, we've got county dollars, we've got grant money, because Matt knew how to work within the legislature, within the House, on both sides of the aisle. You have to come to, you have to work together. And hopefully going forward with our new representatives in place, that will continue to happen. We're losing his institutional memory, but Betty's here. She's still here. And she'll make sure that carries on for us. And I'm just thrilled to be here. We're going to miss him. He's a loss, just to let you know. He's a loss to the town with everything he's done for the time he's been in office and before as a selectman. So I'm going to miss him in that role, but I'm sure he's not going to be far. And he was appointed to the Commission for Assisted Living today. So he'll be carrying that for. And certainly nobody knows more about that part of the business and that part of healthcare than Matt Muratori. So thrilled to be here, my friend.
Thank you, Senator. So next person who will speak will be Senator Vinny DiMacedo. You all know Vinny. I can say real quickly, when I was the assistant town manager, these guys are always joking, and having come from Worcester where nobody has fun, I realize, what a good delegation you can really have. So these guys have done an amazing job.
Derek, thank you so much for the invitation to the Select Board. I'm honored to be here before you. This is, I actually thought it was going to be a smaller crowd. I'm kind of a little embarrassed saying something nice about Matt in public. This isn't recorded, is it? No, I'm just kidding. The Senate President said it well in regards that Matt has left an indelible mark over the last 23 years that you've been serving in this committee. 20? When did you start as on the Finance Committee? 2005, so okay, 20 years. Well, it wasn't really that much then, I'm sorry, I thought it was 23. He's really been a friend of this community, but I think one of the most important things that you're going to see here today that really struck me is that as you see Matt, you see his colleagues over here, and from both sides of the aisle, and they're here to honor him. And his relationships on both sides of the aisle is why that Plymouth has been so successful over the years, is because he understood that the town was more important than whether the political party. It was about listening to what was important to this community and advocating and fighting, whether it was tourism, healthcare, the power plant, you name the issue. Matt has been there at the table, always making sure that we were heard. I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to Betty, who is always there. She gets my phone calls all the time since I've been gone, and she has been a tireless advocate for this community as well. Representative Silva, you're very lucky. We are just incredibly grateful for your service, but most importantly for me, for your friendship. You've been a great friend over the years, and I'm just grateful for all that you've done for this community, and I look forward to collaborating with you still. even though Terry and I are gone, we haven't gone out totally away, and we still love this community and appreciate everything that Plymouth's about. So thank you so much, and appreciate the opportunity to say that.
Thank you, Vin. So the next speakers will come together from the 1st Plymouth District and 12th Plymouth District, Representative Kathy Lenatra and Representative Michelle Badger.
So it's not the waterfall?
It's not.
Thank you. Thank you. It wasn't the waterfall, Matt. Good evening, everyone. For those that don't know me, I'm Kathy Lenatra, and I have had the true pleasure of serving with Matt. It's truly an honor to stand here tonight to celebrate my colleague, my partner in countless endeavors, and my dear friend, Matt Muratori, as we declare the 14th Matthew Muratori Day. Over the past 6 years, Matt and I have worked together on everything from important legislation to ribbon cuttings and just about every community event that you can think of. Whether it was advocating for funding for our schools, funding for infrastructure, cutting the ribbon on local businesses, or showing up to support the incredible people of Plymouth. Matt was always there with a smile, enthusiasm, and of course, his phone ready for a selfie. In fact, there was a point when I realized there were more photos of Matt and me than there were of me and my husband. It became a running joke in our house, and my husband, Mike, just started calling Matt my other partner. And you know what? He wasn't wrong. Matt has been an incredible partner in this work, and I have been so lucky to share this journey with someone who cares so deeply about our community. I can't look at you. Matt, you've brought so much heart and humor to every moment, and while I'll miss working together officially, I have no doubt our paths will cross again. You're not one to stay idle. I'm sure we'll find ourselves at another event soon, probably vying for the best spot in the group photo. Thank you for your friendship, for your service to Plymouth and the Commonwealth, and for the memories that I'll carry with me. Tonight, we honor you, but more importantly, we celebrate the legacy you've built in the community, a legacy of hard work, kindness, and dedication. Congratulations on your well-deserved day, and thank you for everything. Plymouth has been better because of you.
And I'm Michelle Badger, and I'll be fast since we already had an opportunity to do this at school committee, but I'm really proud to be a part of this with you. I'm proud to be filling your shoes. They're big shoes to fill, so I'm going to work really hard to do that. But you've always been there for us, always willing to take a call on a Saturday morning, on a Friday night, whenever we had a question on the school committee or at the gym. I was literally just about to say that. Or at the gym every Saturday morning when I harass you while you're on the bike trying to work out. So sorry.
I like the trying part.
Yeah, well, no, you're trying. I'm interrupting. But, you are always willing to go above and beyond. You are always willing to have those conversations. And I know where to find you on that bike at the Y. And I know your phone, and I will not stop harassing you or asking you questions. So I'm very just honored to be here to celebrate you today and, thank somebody who has really been a true friend to Plymouth and is a friend to all of us, and we're really lucky to have in our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Representatives Lenatra and Badger. So as you all know, there's not a lot of Republican state reps out there, so I had to scour. Oh, go ahead. I'll keep talking while you guys are there. So I had to scour the state to find the next two speakers, to find some Republican state reps to come down and speak to Mr. Muratori. So, rhinos. Next speakers are both Representative Day and Representative Meridian.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Michael Day. I'm a state rep from Stoneham, up in the hinterlands north of Boston, about 10 miles north of Boston. For the record, I'm a Democrat. I'm sure the speaker doesn't hear otherwise. I'm going to lead off as the opening act for Representative Meridian, but we're both classmates of Matt. And in the State House, when you get elected, that's your class. So we got elected in 2014 as a group, 19 of us, and took office in 15. And formed an incredibly close bond. Not all 19 of us, but certainly the three of us here tonight.
Matt is a true friend that transcends politics. As I said, I'm a Democrat to the left of things, and you wouldn't think that we would have such a close bond, but I can tell you, you've heard a little bit about Matt's advocacy for Plymouth. It's understated what he does up in the State House and what he did up in the State House for this town. His testimony to committees on issues personal to him was always heartfelt and personal. It wasn't rehearsed. And that makes a huge difference when you're up there, to hear somebody speak from the heart. And Matt always speaks from the heart. His testimony and his advocacy for Plymouth was unmatched, with all due respect to my Senate predecessors in there. And I want to assure Representative Muratori that his funding that he secured for Plymouth's celebration will remain intact for Plymouth's 500th, since it wasn't utilized for the last one. But I want to tell you what kind of a friend Matt is, and then I'll turn it over to David, to Representative Muradian. Representative Muradian, Representative McKenna, and Representative Muratori and I went golfing for a weekend, and we went up to North Conway. I grew up skiing in North Conway as a kid, Christmas week all the time. Matt has a family place up there in North Conway, and was gracious enough to welcome us to go up in the summertime, which I had never been up before. We golfed for the day. He may have had a few drinks on the golf course. We, of course, remained straight and sober on the course itself. But I had talked about my time in North Conway, and I said, every now and again we'd go out to a bar and sometimes would see world champion Marvelous Marvin Hagler, may he rest in peace, out there. He of 52 knockouts in world championship fame. And Matt didn't believe me. Poo-pooed, nope, there's no way. I haven't seen him up here. I've been up here forever. We went into Matt's favorite restaurant at the end of the evening, and who's sitting at the bar? Marvelous Marvin Hagler. So I got to glory a little bit in that. And he said, look, I'll introduce you. And I said, no, leave him be, leave him be. He said, no, I'll introduce you. And he said, nope. And I looked over, and the Marvelous one had gone to the restroom, which turns out to be a single-stall men's room. Matt followed him right into that restroom and leaned in and said, my friend's a big fan. And luckily avoided knockout 53 at that time. But led with his chin, as he usually leads with his heart. He's a dear friend, always will be. We miss him tremendously up in the State House. And I will close on this, on the note of bipartisanship. In this year where, the presidential administration changed hands, there were a number of pickups to Senator DiMacedo's glory, I'm sure, in the House and the Senate. Matt was so bipartisan, he stepped back and didn't take advantage of the Republican wave for the Senate seat and let somebody else step forward. We are going to miss him tremendously. There were a number of us pulling for you in there, and we look forward to working with you closely in all endeavors going forward. Love you.
Good evening, everyone. I might look somewhat familiar to you because I spent many months in the entirety of this fall down here campaigning for my very best friend. I'm David Muradian. I'm the state representative from Grafton. I've had the privilege and honor of sitting next to Matt for the last 10 years. And while it's great to sit next to Michelle, boy, do I miss you. Mike touched on a lot of the things that I definitely wanted to mention. Again, the fact that I spent the entirety of my fall in Plymouth. Please don't tell my district that, but I really wanted to see him win. I appreciate you stepping up for the Republican cause. As I said, my last name's Muradian. It's M-U-R-A-D-I-A-N. You might confuse that with M-U-R-A-T-O-R-E. So Muratori and Muradian sitting next to each other, got confused all the time with each other, up to the point in this last session that someone came up to me and said, boy, I know you're a golfer and you have so many good golf courses in your district. And I said, thank you. I said, yeah, we have Shining Rock and we have Highfields. And he said, no, you have Pine Hills. And I'm like, damn it, again. So I said, no, that's Matt. He's right here next to me. But honestly, I do appreciate you guys throwing this event together for Matt. It was very difficult to lock down his time being up here from Naples, Florida, and interrupting that with his time down in Naples, Florida, and then being back up here from Naples, Florida. So that's wonderful to be here. And as my good friend and colleague Mike Day did say, I really appreciate all the advocacy that you did with the entire legislature, with many of your predecessors for the Plymouth 400. With all the money that the Commonwealth spent towards the Plymouth 400 and put towards it, I expected golden roads, but we can worry about that for the 500th. Before I get into presenting a citation to you, I did want to make sure to extend My sincere thanks to your better half and the entirety of your family for sharing Matt with us. Literally, my best friend is because you allowed him to run. So Kristen and family, you guys deserve a round of applause. Thank you. And I will end with this because if anyone tuned into Matt's farewell remarks, Matt got a little choked up in the building, and God, I'm trying not to get choked up now because I am really going to miss you. So on behalf of the House of Representatives, and I know that there is a citation that's going to be presented to you either later or not, but Mike Day and I wanted to present it as your classmates. We have a citation, and it reads, "Be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Matthew Muratori in recognition of your 10 years of dedicated public service as a state representative, along with the endless friendships and memories you've made." And that's really what this job's about. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all of your endeavors. It's given January 14th, 2025. It's signed by your best friends, Mike and Dave. We love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Day and Representative Meridian. Our next speaker is one of our Select Board members, Mr. David Golden.
Good evening, folks. It's a real honor to stand up here today, and I do have to start by saying, Casey, thank you for putting me up after Matt's three best friends in the House. Really appreciate that. You folks have heard a lot about all the great work that Matt's done up on Beacon Hill, but what I wanted to get up here to say today, and I'm going to get choked up, is to talk about the work that he does here in the district, and most especially the work that he does with his constituents. When I first got to town, I was a nobody. No one knew who I was, and my wife and I moved here full-time during the COVID era, so everyone had lost their minds at that point in time, myself included. One day, I called Matt's office, and when I started asking questions, I could hear poor Betty roll her eyes on the other end of the phone. I was very interested in getting the government back open, both here and up in Boston. I was astounded when, within 15 minutes of being off the phone with Betty, that Matt called me back. And ever since that first conversation, he's been a great supporter of mine. Whether it's through committee work that I'm doing here in the community, through my campaign, or just being there to bounce ideas off of. And I'm not the only one. You ask anyone in this community, Matt Muratori is the guy that you go to when you need something done. So Matt, I want you to know that you're a singular individual in Massachusetts politics, but you're also a singular individual in my life, and I can't thank you enough for the impression you've left.
Thank you, Selectman Golden. Our next speaker. Yeah, oh no, he's next. He's next, Matt. So, our next speaker, who knows what he will say, is Mr. Bill Hallisey, who is former Select Board member and is now the chair of the Plymouth Foundation. Mr. Hallisey, please come forward.
Oh, too many. I don't want the Independent to go crazy, though. Boy, Matt had a look of horror when he saw me sitting over there that I was going to get up and speak. But I must say, I met Matt when I first got on the board back in 2009. Matt got on in 2010. We formed such a great friendship right out of the gate. You know, Matt is one of the most caring people, whether you're a Democrat, you're a Republican. If you're a human, he loves you, he'll help you. I think what he's done for this community over the years has been just outstanding. He's an outstanding father. He's an outstanding, just all-around great guy. I mean, you meet so few people in this world. Matt's one of them. And politics can be a tough racket. You know, you take some heat, you make good decisions, you make bad decisions. And sometimes you have to roll with the punches for the greater good of everybody. And that's what Matt's done. Whether you were on his team or you weren't on his team, if you had a problem, he'd reach out to help you. I just hope, you know, as politicians and elected officials and the Board of Selectmen, and, you know, if everybody can model of somebody like Matt Muratori, you're doing something right. So I'm grateful I got to say some words for Matt tonight. I have many other stories that would make this night quite interesting. But I will say, since I knew Matt, going back to when we first got on, we just hit it off. Our families gelled very well. We had some great North Conway stories. My 3 girls, his 4 girls. It was happy when they came. It was happy when they left. It was, no, all kidding aside, he's the type of guy you could hang out with pretty much full time. He's a real true gentleman, and thank you all for letting me speak tonight.
So we have a number of folks, department head and others, that would like to provide gifts to Matt. But as we prepare for the gift presentations, I just want to read a few things out of Matt's bio because I think it's important, especially we can get these in the minutes of the selectmen meeting. So just a couple of things I think folks need to be aware of. So he served in the House Ways and Means Committee. Matt served in the Healthcare Finance Committee, Community Development and Small Business Committee, Municipalities and Regional Government Committee, Plymouth County Drug Task Force, the Permanent Commission on the Status of Persons with Disabilities, the Behavioral Health Advisory Commission. Matt received Legislator of the Year Award in 2017 from ARC of Greater Plymouth. And then in 2008, he received the To the Moon and Back SAMS Award. And then in 2019, again, Legislator of the Year Award from Mass Access. And then in 2023, the South Shore Recycling Environmental Hero Award. And then 2024, the Plymouth for Segment of Active Living Award. Those are just a few of the accomplishments that I think is notable. There's more on these talking points that we could talk about, but you know that's really important. I think it speaks to Matt's work over the body of his career, and we all, again, appreciate what Matt has done. So, with that being said, Matt, we have a number of gifts that staff and others would like to present to you. And the first person who will present to you is our chairman, Mr. Dick Quinto. Mr. Quinto.
We have a nice plaque here for you, Matthew. Matthew J. Muratori has dedicated his career to serve in the Plymouth community, beginning on the Plymouth Select Board in 2010, where he served as chairman from 2012 to 2014. He was elected to the state representative for the 1st Plymouth District in 2014. A passionate advocate, Representative Muratori has advanced initiatives in elder care, disabilities advocacy, and environmental sustainability, earning accolades such as Legislator of the Year Award and Environmental Hero. This distinctive accomplishments of Matthew J. Muratori reflect greatly upon himself, the town of Plymouth, and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for his unwavering passion and commitment to the people of this community. January 14th, 2025.
We also wish to present a proclamation from the town of Plymouth. Whereas Matthew Muratori began his tenure as state representative of the 1st Plymouth District upon his election in November 2014, demonstrating a steadfast commitment to public service. And whereas, prior to his service as state representative, Matthew Muratori dedicated himself to the town of Plymouth through his work on the Plymouth Select Board from 2010 to 2015, serving as chair from 2012 to 2014, as well as through his earlier roles on the Plymouth Advisory and Finance Committee, the Plymouth Regional Economic Development Foundation, and the Plymouth Council on Aging, where he served as both a board member and chair. And whereas his dedication has been repeatedly recognized through honors such as the Legislator of the Year Award from the Arc of Greater Plymouth and Mass Access, the Champion of Tourism Award, the Environmental Hero Award, and other distinguished accolades for his exemplary service to Plymouth and the Commonwealth. And whereas Representative Muratori has served the community as a member of the Sunrise Rotary Club, Plymouth Youth Development Collaborative, Knights of Columbus, and the Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce, and has provided leadership through positions with PAC TV, the BID-LH Plymouth Advisory Board, and the Plymouth Networking Group for Seniors. And whereas Matthew Muratori has balanced his professional and civic responsibilities with a fulfilling personal life as a devoted husband to Kristen, a local attorney, and a proud father of 6 daughters and grandfather to 1 granddaughter, therefore, we, the Select Board of the Town of Plymouth, Massachusetts, recognize Matthew Muratori for his exceptional service, dedication, and leadership, and do hereby proclaim January 14th, 2025, as Matthew Muratori Day in the town of Plymouth, Massachusetts, given at Plymouth Town Hall on this day in January 2025.
All right, so we're going to move on to the board chair of the Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Scott Hokinson.
Yeah, the only reason I have to be here tonight is as board chair. I have no other reason. Michelle, that's on your hard work, you know. So. No, I have one fun story to tell. Bill, Halsey, Matt and I were at a fundraiser over at Southers Marsh, and we saw the wedding chicken, and all due respect to Will Stearns, we're like, you know, let's go hit Malbar afterwards, and Bill had a buddy of his with us, and the 4 of us went, sat at the bar, and ran up an expensive tab, and I ran up to the hostess and said, I want to cover this, and she said I was 3rd. But on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, Matt is a fellow Rotarian. He's a friend. He's been a client. I sold a business to Matt, and you're a mentor. I am trying to be a good husband and father, and you're an absolute great example of that here in town. And this is my hometown, and it's better because of the work you've done. It is my pleasure to recognize and express our deep gratitude to you, to your family. We all know how much this is a family effort, and your family has done this. And to Betty, we really appreciate you, and thank you for all the work you've done for us. Matt's unwavering dedication to all facets of the community, especially our local businesses, has been truly remarkable. Plymouth runs on small business, and Matt never forgot that. The Chamber is honored to work closely with Matt over the years, your leadership and partnership, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. It was the time when this town really shined, and we did the best we could with your help. You really played an instrumental role in getting us the resources and getting the information to people as soon as we can. Your vision and commitment to Plymouth success, and thank you to those fellow people who funded the Plymouth 400. I promise you, we got a nice dredged harbor. We really appreciate it. We got cruise ships coming in, so lots of good stuff. We got a better dock for our fancy boats. Really appreciate you. But on behalf of the Chamber and the entire community, you're a special person. You're a good friend, and I get to see you most Thursday mornings at Rotary, and I'm grateful for that. As a token of our appreciation, the Chamber has a small appreciation, but I hope you take away much more than this token, the legacy and the successful businesses that thrive in this hometown. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. So we have a number of departments who've had the opportunity to work with Matt over the past decade, and they want to acknowledge his commitment and his advocacy for their specific department. So starting off, we're going to turn the mic over to Commissioner Michelle Brady.
I'm going to echo everybody. It is an absolute honor to be standing here. You, for me, were one of my biggest cheerleaders when I started this role, you and your wife, Kristen, and I do consider you friends. And for me to say that, that is from the bottom of my heart. State Representative Muratori, one of the few politicians that can both talk the talk and walk the walk. On behalf of Cal and HHS, we are humbled and honored to present a small token of our appreciation and a poem. For a delegate, a state representative named Matt with 2 T's. So the backstory is, when I met State Representative Muratori, I spelled his name wrong twice. He had to explain to me that Matthew was with 1 T and Matt was with 2 T's, because in every email I would get it backwards. And finally, he set me straight. So, as you depart, a poem for Matt with 2 T's. M is for the many years, weeks, days, and hours you have devoted to seniors. A is for always finding time to listen, no matter how large or small the audience may be. T is for tenacity and unwavering determination to help and support others. And the final T is for top notch, because that is what you are in our book. Thank you for everything, and we can't wait to see where your next journey takes you.
Thank you, Michelle. So our next speaker is Mr. Jason Silva. He's the Commissioner of Inspectional Services. Many of you know Jason. He worked for the town for many years, and then he left for a few years to go to Kingston. And like all of us, Plymouth sucks you back in. So Jason is back, and I'm going to turn the mic over to him. Jason.
Thank you. I may not know Matt as well as many of the others, but I do know one thing, that it's about public service. So I just want to say thank you, and it's an honor to honor you for all your dedicated public service. I think a quote from a politician, maybe not quite as famous, John Kennedy, might work. Let the public service be a proud and lively career, and let every man and woman who works in an area of our national government in any branch at any level be able to say with pride and with honor in future years, I serve the United States government in that hour of our nation's need. So I think it fits well for the town of Plymouth that you served our area and have, and I think you still will continue to. So I just want to say we appreciate your efforts, your dedication to public service, and we have a small token of our appreciation.
No retaliating against small businesses, Mr. Muratori. It's not accepted. So who's next? Chief Flynn is the next speaker to present you with an award. Thank you.
I just want everybody to know in the room here that no matter which role Matt played in for the town of Plymouth, he was always a strong supporter and advocate for the men and women of law enforcement. So on behalf of the men and women and all members of the Plymouth Police Department, Matt, I sincerely thank you, and I wish you and your family the best in your next endeavors. Congratulations, and again, thank you again.
Thanks, Chief. All right, Fire Chief Foley's already here, Matt.
Hey, Matt. So Matt and I have been working together, I think, in the better part of 20 years. I've served in a few different roles within the fire department, also as an employee representative as well, with Matt working on advisory finance and then with the select board. We had many meetings together over the years, some of them spirited, but I can tell you that I've always appreciated the fact that anytime I've been able to work with you, that you've been there genuinely trying to solve a problem, and I think that throughout any of those times we've been able to do that together, and that speaks a measurable amount about you, who you are, and what you think about this community and how you serve. So as a token of the appreciation from me, from the fire department, and the men and women of the fire department, we have this shield that was hand-painted. And the history of a firefighter's shield is that you're presented your shield when you become a firefighter, and it designates who you are, what rank you are, and where you work, who you represent. And I believe that that encompasses you as well. That is who you are. You are a representative of the town of Plymouth, and it's right there on that shield in gold. We didn't want to get into that.
Thank you, Chief. Our next presenter is our town clerk, Kelly McElrath. Kelly?
So, Matt, I've only known you a couple years. It's been awesome working with you through the town clerks. Yeah. Well, we're not going there. But you've been recognized this evening by all your accolades and everything that you've done for the town of Plymouth. So I decided to go back and look in some of the files, and I found your voter registration from 2002. So we have it framed for you. So, because none of your accolades would have happened if you were not a registered voter in the town of Plymouth. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Kelly. So, Matt, we are done filling you. That's it. That's all we have. Well, we have a 7 o'clock select board meeting we have to get to, so we're running out of time. But this is your opportunity to address the group and have any parting words. Matthew?
Wow, this is really overwhelming. When Derek and Dickey, Chairman Quintal, reached out to me, and they wanted to do something, and I just thought it was going to be something, something small at the selectmen's meeting, get a plaque or something like that. And when I walked in here tonight and saw all of you and all the people, and I started looking around and like, what a diverse group of people you really are. Really, it's really overwhelming. It really is. I said to somebody downstairs, I said, I don't really deserve all these accolades. My job and our role as legislators is to support what you all do. You all do the hard work. Our job is to help facilitate and get what you need. And to me, that was always the easy part. But I do want to thank some people. Of course, I want to thank the board. Thank you so much for this. Dickie and I go way back as well on the board. And if there's anybody that deserves credit for my career, it's John Mahoney. Let me explain. So I'll explain. When I first got appointed, and this is another little funny story, to the Council on Aging Board of Directors of 2005, there was one slot open on that Board of Directors, and there were 2 people going up for it. My wife, Kristen, and myself. And we found out, we didn't realize both of us applied for it until like the day before. So I, being the gentleman I am, I'll bow out. I said, no, let's just go and see what happens. Dickie was the deciding vote. I was 3-2. Thank you for that. But with John and I formed a friendship. And when I was on the Finance Committee, and John's the one that really encouraged me. Him, David Malaguti, and Karen Bukes really encouraged me to run for the Select Board and get involved. And John, I thank you for that. It's not something I thought I would ever do, but it was your encouragement, and I saw how you were on the board. And I thought, with Billy and some of the other folks that were on the board at the time, that this would be a fun thing to do, and it really was. And we did a lot of great stuff, so thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. When I first got elected to, even before I got elected, and I was thinking of running for state rep, of course, the 2 people that I reached out to are my mentors, Terry Murray and Vinnie DiVasito. Yeah. They were, I am who they created, because I learned from them how they dealt with this community. And I felt, Michelle, you talked about big shoes to fill. Try to fill these 2 people's shoes. But I followed what they did, and I saw how they worked together. It wasn't about party. It wasn't at all. It was about community. And this was a community that we loved. That's why we moved here in 2001. We want to be part of a community. We want to give back to the community. We want to show our kids, why it's good to give back to a community, be a part of it. And matter of fact, my daughter Emma, who's here tonight, I think she was only 1 year old when I started. And I had 2 more kids after that, too, so we only had 4 at the time. But it was important for us to give back. But Terry and Vinny, you really paved the way for us here. And we had some fun along the way as well. And then when Kathy came along, we certainly did have some fun as well. And it's been a great partnership all along, all these years. But the common goal that we all have, and Michelle, you'll see it, and Mark, you'll see it. Of course, Dave and Mike know this, and Billy knows this as well. It's all about just the community. There's no egos here. Well, maybe a little bit, but there really isn't. It's about really supporting the community, and we have a great community. And you look back, 20 years went by fast. It really did. And we look back at where we were 20 years ago. We didn't have 2 new high schools. We didn't have a senior center. We didn't have this town hall. There's a lot of things that have happened in 20 years, and I didn't do that. We all did this together. And I'm so proud to be part of this community, to be part of this this event tonight. I really appreciate this so much. And who knows what the next chapter is going to bring. I never thought I'd be a selectman, never thought I'd be a state rep, and not sure what the next chapter is going to bring, but I'm enjoying life now. And again, thank you so very much. And I could not have done this without my family, my wife, Kristen, and my 6 daughters. Since 2009, actually, when we were thinking of running for selectman, I had to sit down with my wife, Kristen, and said, what do you think? And every time there was an election, even the last state rep race, even the Senate race, all we sat down and said, what do you think? Without that, I wouldn't have been here today. So I thank you so much, and I love you. I picked them out myself. And I want, yeah, sure, yep. So, yeah. And I'm going to ask my daughter Emma to come up here to represent the family. We have our kids scattered all over the place. We got one in Barcelona and one working and one in Boston, everywhere. They're just everywhere. So thank you for representing everyone. And Sean and Gamble, thank you so much for coming. And the reason I asked you to come, because I figured I have a lot of stuff to carry out, so you can carry that. And I do want to, one last person, and I had 2 legislative directors in my time. The first one was Rita Murphy. We started together in 2015, and we were both brand new and really learned a lot together. And then after 2 years, she left, and I had the real opportunity to get somebody with a real experience that really helped me to be the legislator I am, and that's Betty DeBenedictis. Come on up. So Mark, take good care of her. She's gonna make you go places. That's why I'm here tonight. Yeah. So again, thank you so very much. I know you have a meeting to go to now. So again, from the bottom of my heart, from my family, thank you, thank you, thank you. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. We're going to, I think, recess, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, thank you all for coming out, and thank staff and yourself, Derek, for putting this all together. And that's how we do it in America's hometown.
We're all
Welcome back to the Plymouth Select Board meeting of Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. Mr. Canty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight's meeting of the Plymouth Select Board is taking place in a hybrid format. Members of the public are joining us here at the Great Hall of Town Hall. Members of the public may join us on the Zoom webinar platform. That is the login information for which is included on the agenda that is posted on the town website. Members of the public that wish to participate in the meeting may do so over the Zoom webinar platform, or they may do so by attending here in person. You may also observe the meeting on Comcast Channel 9 or Verizon Channel 47, the local scene channels. Members of the public are also reminded, pursuant to Massachusetts general laws, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of the Select Board after notifying the chair, subject to reasonable requirements of the chair so as to not interfere with the conduct of the meeting. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any recordings. We are aware of a recording being made by the local scene. We are not aware of any other recordings at this time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Canty. First order of business is 3 licenses. Wish of the board.
Mr. Chair, if my colleagues do not have any questions or comments, I would make a motion to approve the 3 listed licenses as a group.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Golden. Discussion? Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
And myself, yes, unanimous. There's 12 administrative notes, unless the board objects or the wish of the board.
If my colleagues have no questions or comments on any of the specific administrative notes, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve administrative notes 1 through 12 as a group.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Golden. Discussion? Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Moving on to the agenda items. Article 11, Facility Capital Stabilization Fund. Welcome, Ms. Barrett.
Thank you. On behalf of the town and the town manager, this article and the next article are articles that we presented last year, and we'd like to continue to do these articles. These articles are setting aside some additional revenues from the general fund, and one is for the Facility Capital Maintenance Stabilization Fund. This is a fund that we've been building up. It has not necessarily been used yet, but it's part of our financial policies that we're working on, and we will be using this fund in the future to fund facility capital infrastructure requests in addition to our other normal free cash and borrowing requests. The current balance in this fund is approximately $6.7 million, so we're requesting $500,000 to be put in additional funds to be put in this fund.
Any questions or comments from Ms. Barrett? Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lynn, I just want to thank you for continuing to push for this. I think this is essential for the long-term planning of the community, and I hope town meeting approves it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if my colleagues have no other questions or comments, I would make a motion to include Article 11 on the town meeting warrant and recommend town meeting approve it.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Golden. Discussion? Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Unanimous.
Thank you. The second article is for, similar to the facility maintenance, we would like to set aside $500,000 in the Nuclear Mitigation Stabilization Fund. This fund was established several years ago by the town, and its current balance has $9.9 million in it. And I believe that this is one of the goals of the select board, to get a healthy balance in this fund for the potential of our future with regards to Holtec.
Any questions? Mr. Canty?
So Lynn, The current balance is 9.9, we're putting in 500,000, so after this vote, if it were approved by town meeting, it'd be approximately $10.4 million.
Exactly.
Excellent, thank you.
And Lynn, you just explain what that fund is for, so everybody understands what we're doing here, is, you know, similar to what the facilities,
It's set aside for the potential of what Holtec is going to do with their property there, and the potential for the town to have an interest in our most recent pilot agreement with them. We have an agreement with them to get sort of like a right of first refusal, and this fund would put us in a position to be able to, you know,
so
negotiate.
basically, we don't know when that land's gonna become for sale, but we
Right.
need to be in a position to be able to buy that land, and that's why we're being proactive. And same thing with the first article, we're putting money away, because I know when I got on the board a few years ago, our facilities were in terrible shape, and we were spending millions on new fire stations because they were in such bad shape, they were neglected. So we're putting money away every year to try and have money there when we have to fix, especially the new buildings. We want to keep those new buildings in good shape. So 10 years or 20 years from now, they're still, you know, they're still operable. So that's why we're just being proactive. So anyway, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Mahoney?
Lynn, I know, I think months ago, you'd given me a breakdown of the meals tax account and how much interest it had earned last year, and it was pretty solid. You have a report on this one? This one earn any interest
I don't
last
have
year?
it with me tonight, but I can provide that to the town manager to give to the selectmen, what we've put into the fund and what we've earned on the fund. Yep.
Right, okay, because the benefit right now, I know it's painful to the public, especially with respect to borrowing potentially for a house, but we are getting the benefit of some sort of return with the higher interest rates, correct?
Yes, yep.
Yep.
This
Yeah.
money's invested.
So just reinforcing what Mr. Bletcher said, this account was created almost, maybe a little over a decade ago now, in anticipation. It was always not a question of if the plant was going to close. It was only a question of when. So putting the community in a better fiscal position, so if and when we needed something with respect to economic development or security or safety or even just a straight-out purchase, we wouldn't have to be scrambling last minute to figure out where we're getting this money from. And we already know going in that if we get the opportunity, I think the federal government, the state government, the private sector is probably going to be with us there to help us get our goal accomplished.
Any other questions from the board? A motion?
I'll make a motion that we include Article 12 on the warrant and recommend that town meeting approve it.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Bletcher. Discussion? Mr. Canty?
So, thank you, Lynn, for the explanation during your presentation. I think that the disposition and future use of that 1,530.35 acres that currently is in the possession of Holtec is very important to the future of the community for a lot of factors. If it's in the hands of certain private development interests, it could significantly add to the existing service burden that the town has, as well as compromising a pristine area of real estate that has some significant unique environmental characteristics, as well as, if we used it properly, could have some, I think, light but still beneficial commercial benefit, some type of earth sciences type, natural sciences type infrastructure some people are talking about that I think could attract good jobs that are doing good work in our community, so that more people could live and work within the same town and have a better quality of life as a result of that. I think we have an opportunity to get our house in order, to prepare ourselves to have a seat at that table, and I am very happy to sit on a board that has been working towards that goal over the last couple of years, and I hope to be able to continue to do that despite the other obvious challenges that the town is going through financially, as well as our society as a greater whole, but we are trying to get out ahead of our problems rather than letting our problems get a hold of us, and I think this is a significant step in that direction. So thank you for continuing to do that, and thank you for the board for supporting it, and I hope town meeting will do so as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Blutzer?
And I'd just like to add to Mr. Canty's point that the easiest way to control land is to own the land, so we're trying to get ourselves in a good position to do that. So anyway, thank you.
Motion?
We did.
Did we do it already? Okay. Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Blutzer?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
Thank
Unanimous.
you.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thanks.
Article 20, Ms. McKay?
Good evening. I'm here to talk about Article 20 on the upcoming town warrant. I think you have some materials in front of you. Eversource is requesting an easement along Nook Road for the installation of a pad mount transformer at Plymouth North. They had sent over the request, their internal paperwork that gets filled out, as well as a graphic kind of indicating, I think, where they anticipate they would be utilizing the easement for the installation.
Questions from the board? Seeing none, motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Is that a motion to include Article 20 on the warrant and recommend town meeting approve it?
Absolutely.
I would second that motion.
Motion by Mr. Blutzer, second by Mr. Canty. Discussion? Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Blutzer?
Yes.
And Mr. Golden?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Article 21.
Hello there. So I'm Kevin Canty, I'm the Vice Chair of the Select Board. Articles 21 and 22, 23 are articles that I had worked on and worked with Town Council on, as well as to some extent for two of them, the school committee as well as my colleagues on the board. So without further ado, let's get started. We've seen this presentation before, but every presentation is someone's first presentation. So this may be yours, and if it's not, well, it's deja vu all over again. But nevertheless, here we go. All right, so what are the proposals? So these proposals are related as it goes to, there's a charter change as well as two charter changes, as well as a proposed bylaw. There are two that are related, one charter change and one proposed bylaw, that are looking to prepare the town for the potential for future consolidation efforts between the town and the schools. So over the course of the last several months, the town and the schools have been working together, having regular meetings about trying to collaborate in a more meaningful way. For many years, there was sort of this wall between town side and school side of municipal services. That was not serving the community well. Everybody gets one tax bill. Everybody lives in one town. Oops, we've got some, there we go, now we're back. Everyone lives in one town, and it made more sense, given the financial constraints that the community is dealing with, for us to try and work collaboratively and avoid any tension between those two sides. This town side of the overall operating budget is 39%. The school side is 61%. We have an agreement to keep our current and future monies at that level. So as we gain new revenue and funding sources, we're going to continue that split of 61-39. That allows both sides to plan. But we're also aware of significant challenges that both sides are dealing with. The schools have a lot of unfunded mandates, for example, in relation to transportation, English language learners, McKinney-Vento, things of that nature that are real budget strains on their side. Obviously, the town, on our side, we have to provide certain level of public safety protection, road service, fire safety, things of that nature, libraries, things of that kind. So it's important that we be able to collaborate because we're all trying to service the same community, and we all answer to the same taxpayers, ratepayers, and users. So part of those discussions have included the possibility, with no definitive plan yet, but the possibility that we may want to consolidate some services in the future. And some of those services that have been discussed are things like IT, human resources, and facilities. And we would not do it willy-nilly. It would involve studying that, seeing the costs, the benefits, the efficiencies that could be gained in the long term from it. It would also, if it were ever to be done in the future, it would obviously involve input from the workforce on both sides that would be impacted as well. So we are not proposing at this time any actual consolidation. This is just to prepare the town to be in a better position to be able to consolidate in the future. And it is both an amendment to the charter and a general bylaw proposal. School committee and school administration have had input into the language of that particular proposal, and we are in agreement on that. So all sides are happy with that. And basically the thrust of it is, as was talked about often at the last town meeting where many changes to the charter were proposed, some were approved, that things have a tendency to get into our charter and then they're tough to get out because a common refrain will be, this, whatever this is, should not be in the charter. This, whatever this is, should be in a bylaw. But it's not in a bylaw yet. So then there's sort of that element of, well, we'll get a bylaw in the future. So instead, what we're looking to do here is to propose a charter amendment that would have to go to the general court and be approved up at Beacon Hill, which would take 18 months to 2 years. At the same time, we would be maintaining that charter amendment would remove from the charter the mandate that the schools be responsible for their own facilities. At the same time, we would be putting in a general bylaw that would maintain the current status quo with the schools responsible for their facilities. You might be asking yourself, well, why do the old switcheroo there? Well, the purpose is because we can change a general bylaw much faster. So if we ever reach a conclusion and a plan with the schools in the future, it's much faster for us to change a general bylaw than it is for us to change the charter because it has that 18-month to 2-year cycle. A general bylaw could be changed at any town meeting. So you'd have like a 6-month turnaround instead of an 18-month to 2 years. So if a deal is reached in the future, we could respond to it. If no deal is reached, the status quo as it exists today would not change, just where you look it up would change. All right, so that's what that one is about. I will go into more detail about that specifically. The next slide. And then there is an additional charter amendment to allow future charter review committees to propose bylaws to town meeting. Because as it stands right now, as I just described, things are proposed, this shouldn't be in the charter, this should be in a bylaw, but that charter review committee can't propose a bylaw. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. Instead, what we should do is have them be able to say, if they think something should be in a bylaw versus the charter, let them propose a proposed bylaw to replace it with. So then town meeting can review those two proposals contemporaneously at the same time and evaluate whether they want to go that path or not, as opposed to, well, we're going to change the charter now, and at some future town meeting, we'll do a bylaw. Okay, so charter amendment number 1. That would be to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to petition the general court to amend chapter 4, section 3 of the Plymouth Town Charter to delete section 4-3-2D to remove the requirement that schools have superintendents of their buildings and grounds from the town charter by striking the following text in its entirety, which is section D, to have general charge and superintendents of all school buildings and grounds and furnish all school buildings with proper fixtures, furniture, and equipment. Provided, however, that the general court may make clerical or editorial changes of form only to the bill, unless the select board approve amendments to the bill before enactment by the general court, and to authorize the select board to approve amendments which shall be within the scope of the general objectives of the petition or take any action relative thereto. So just very simple, striking that specific language from the charter. That's the proposed charter amendment number 1. Now, the proposed general bylaw that would replace it would be a bylaw related to facilities maintenance, management, and oversight, Section A, definitions. There's a definition of school facilities. We worked with the schools to define what school facilities is because they wanted something about facilities specifically within there, and we were a little unclear, town council and I, about what is a facility versus what is a building. So we talked to them about that and came up with a mutually agreeable definition. And a school facility that is not a building would be, for the purposes of this section, school facilities shall include non-academic school buildings, school sports fields, and any press boxes, halftime facilities and/or lighting fixtures, or structures associated with them, wells and wastewater treatment infrastructure located on school properties, parking lots, driveways, and maintenance garages. And then Section B is the more operative section that deals with who has the control and responsibility for public facilities, and it shall be appropriated as follows. The school committee shall have general charge and superintendence of all school buildings, school facilities, school vehicles, school grounds, and shall furnish all school buildings and school facilities with proper fixtures, furniture, and equipment. In Section 2, the town and its various departments and divisions shall have general charge and superintendence of all municipal buildings and grounds, excluding school buildings, school facilities, and school grounds, and shall furnish all of these buildings, facilities, and grounds with proper fixtures, furniture, and equipment. So we have taken the existing language that is in the charter, we have buttressed it with what the school would like to see in there, and we have maintained, at the end of the day, the current status quo, but done it in a way that allows the town in the future, if a consolidation agreement is reached, to respond to that. So then, because they're all really related, I'll go into Charter Amendment 2, which is to amend 7-6-1, the entirety of which is up there. There's a Charter Review Committee. There's also a Charter Commission, which is a separate thing. But under the town charter, a Charter Review Committee should exist every 5 years to review the charter and make recommendations to town meeting of any changes. So what this is looking to do is just to add into this section the bolded text. So I will not bore you by reading the entire text. You can read that yourself. But the bolded text is the Charter Review Committee shall also have the ability to propose new or amended general bylaws for their town meeting consideration as part of their report. So they would make a report about charter changes and bylaws at the same time, and that could be assessed in its totality. So those are the proposals for these particular articles, and I am available for any questions on each or all.
Mr. Golden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Canty. Do we need to vote on this again tonight? Because as my colleagues will note from the meetings that we approved tonight, on December 17th, I made a motion to include these articles and recommend them to town meeting. Do we need to take another vote here this evening?
I don't think you do, because you already made a motion to include them on the warrant and recommend them to town meeting. But there was a request to present about them again. So I think we could have a discussion about it. I think technically, because we took that vote on December 17th at approximately 6:01 p.m., it would require us to actually reconsider that vote if we wanted to do something different.
Indeed.
But be that as it may, I'm presenting again. Some people are seeing it for the first time, and I'm still available for any other questions.
Thank you, and agreed.
You're welcome.
Well, if we're going to vote, excuse me, Mr. Canty, we were supposed to meet with the school committee tonight. Shouldn't we wait till we're meeting with them and do that vote at the same time? I'd like to hear how they feel about it, because I know they had some concerns before. And
So with the exception of the member that
if we're voting, if we're not voting, it's a moot point.
we don't have to vote. We already did vote on December 17th at approximately 6:01 p.m. But the only member of the committee that I haven't spoken to about this would be the one that we just appointed last week. So the other school committee members, including school administration, were fine with the language in the proposal.
Because I brought up about the, there might be some union issues too, and you assured me that you were going to have conversations, and, but if we've already voted on it, it's a moot point.
We did, yes, on
Okay.
December 17th.
So, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone wishing to speak under public comment? think she had her hand up first, and then Mr. Cirque. Please make sure the green light's on, and you state your name for the record, please.
That was a quick meeting, great. All right, let me get this up here. Perfect. Oop, that's not the right thing. Here it is. My apologies. Okay. So my name's Emily Tompkins, Precinct 14. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm a lifelong resident of Plymouth and a very active community volunteer in town. These comments are my own personal opinion. I am not representing any group or committee that I volunteer for. I'm concerned about the relationship between the town and the Plymouth Independent, which I'll now speak to as the PI. When the PI first came out, I was very excited to see this as a vehicle for civic engagement. We have town meeting form of government, meaning we have 162 of our neighbors that represent us twice a year in town decision-making, in addition to the select board. We have a complicated form of government in a huge town of over 60,000 people and 105 square miles of land. When I first got involved in town government, I found keeping track of everything very daunting. There is so much information available, but it's buried in 3-hour-long meeting recordings and pages of minutes posted well after the fact. The town has made great progress with communicating with residents and continues to work on this area. The communications coordinator position, social media presence, much improved easy-to-use website, the On the Move quarterly magazine, and we have many different kinds of public forums and surveys going on right now. The PI has done some great reporting on local issues and sharing information about our local government. But change does not happen all in one day, and no one is perfect. It's my understanding the agreement between the PI and the town was quite simple: to include the communications coordinator on all media inquiries, to document information requests with easy-to-find subject lines via email instead of numerous calls throughout the day, not having 24/7 access to town staff and representatives because they're human too and should not be on call all the time, and to maintain a respectful partnership to serve the communication needs of the residents. But this relationship is strained and has reached a tipping point. I'm disappointed by that the PI used its high visibility in the community to spread distrust of our local government. We are getting enough of that in mainstream news, and I had higher expectations for the PI. To be fair, I was not thrilled at the response by the town manager either. There were failures by both parties. The question is, are we going to learn and grow from this or double down? Additionally, the comments online makes matters so much worse. To those people I say, it's really easy to sit behind your computer, commenting, complaining, and fighting with people online. It's challenging to sit at a table with people who think differently than you and work together to find a shared goal and common solution. It's challenging but not impossible, and this is how democracy works. I'm a person whose overarching aim in our community is education, communication, and civic engagement. I advocate for making it easier for people to follow what is happening in town government and feel they have a voice in our community. I urge the PI and the town to work out their differences and serve the public's need for accurate, timely, easy-to-understand information. The residents are counting on you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cirque was next, and then Mr. Russell.
Good evening. I'm Richard Cirque, a town meeting member from Precinct 2. I'm here to express my deep disappointment with the reported decision by the town manager to direct all appointed town officials to, quote, cease all communication with the Plymouth Independent, close quote, because, he said, the Independent, quote, is out to disgrace and target town officials. The job of journalism is to hold government officials' feet to the fire if and when they withhold information that their readers have a right to know. The press is supposed to be skeptical of people in power. No public official should withhold information from the public based on whether the official dislikes a story, a reporter, or a newspaper. The press is more than just a pesky fly that needs swatting. Examples abound. In the early 1970s, it was the publication of the Pentagon Papers by the Washington Post over the fierce resistance of the Nixon administration, which led to the end of the Vietnam War. In the early 2000s, it was the publication of the Spotlight Report by the Boston Globe over the fierce resistance of the Catholic Church, which exposed the immoral behavior of pedophile priests and the attempted cover-up it led to. And today, it's again the publication of the Spotlight Report over the stonewalling of Steward Healthcare, which is exposing the plundering of private Massachusetts hospitals by Ralph de la Torre and his cohorts. None of these groundbreaking exposés would have seen the light of day of political, religious, and medical information if that information had been withheld from the press. Against this background comes now Plymouth's town manager and his directive that appointed town officials cease communication with the Independent. I'm not suggesting that the town manager's directive is as consequential as the resistance by the president, the Catholic Church, or Steward Healthcare, because it is not. But what I am saying is that experience on the national and regional levels should inform behavior on the municipal level. Simply put, a government official who can't accept criticism is like a hemophiliac who hemorrhages even if he's just been nicked. Criticism comes with the territory, and it's astonishing to me that our town manager apparently does not realize this.
Excuse me, it's been 3 minutes, Mr. Cirque.
I need 45 more seconds.
You think? Okay, we grant you.
Referring to the Plymouth Independent as the quote-unquote Plymouth Inquirer is beneath the status of his office. It's nothing more than a page from Donald Trump's playbook by tagging his critics with infantile, derogatory nicknames. Surely we're better than that. I believe that the town manager's lack of understanding of the foundational role of the press in a democracy is grounds for a public reprimand at the very least. But his defense will surely be that 4 out of 5 members of this board are apparently in full support of his futile effort to muzzle the Independent. If I'm mistaken in my characterization of those members of the board, you should correct me now. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ed Russell from Precinct 16, town meeting member, and I have a little different view of the PI problem with my corporate experience that I had. Hopefully some of it will be helpful. For full disclosure, yes, I was involved with the formation of PI amongst other people, but I'm not on the board, I don't make any decisions, I'm not an officer. I just raise money from the outside, which I think is important. My comments come from a career handling press calls. I worked for a company that had 5 petrochemical plants around the United States, and boy, did they always get in trouble. There were explosions, there were fires, just layoffs. It kept me very busy. That I did among my legal job and my human resources job. Anyway, we had previously used an expensive New York PR firm to handle these kinds of press calls, and the chairman decided that was too expensive, and so we just dropped that. Well, lo and behold, and no surprise, up came a call that worked its way up to his office, and he came running down to mine and said, "Could you handle this?" He was afraid to talk to the press. I said, "Yes, but," and I sort of, with a smile, I pointed my finger at him and I said, "I'll do it if I don't hear any complaints from anybody if things come out wrong." I said, "That's just, it might be my mistake, it might be their mistake, but I just don't want to hear about it." He said, "Deal." He was happy. I was the right person for that job because I was senior enough to know everything about the company and the issues, and I knew the people. So I was able to handle these calls on my own. I didn't have to go get anybody's permission. So when the previous New York City PR firm was working for the company, I got some training on how to handle press things. The first thing they told me was, get on the case soon so that you can get ahead of it, and before stuff starts to burgle up and be trouble. So get it behind you as fast as you can. The word they use is, what was their quote was, cut the bleeding. And so that was number one. Number two was, don't lie, mislead, or hide info that'll come back to haunt you. Third was give as much information as you can, because if you don't, it's just going to go on and on. So you don't talk about, we had technical operations and we had chemical processes. We couldn't talk about any of that. We couldn't even talk about what we were.
Mr. Russell, how much more time?
Sure, I need another minute, that's all. So I offered, this is helpful, I offered information, just somewhat relevant. It was the problem happened in the X plant. We had X employees there, X number of square feet. We made X, Y, Z thing. Just give them stuff to help them do their article. And that was very good because it built a relationship. And the end of the story is I never heard another word from the chairman of the board. He was happy with everything. Everything worked fine.
Steve Lyden, Precinct 17. I was excited when PI came in. I thought it was good because the old colony was not worth buying anymore since they took out Speak Out. But I was expecting a lot more. I'm not getting it. All I'm getting is inflammatory stories that make accusations without any follow-up or any backup. And, you know, I agree with the town manager. I was in a situation years ago where the place where I worked was accused of doing something. It was in the Boston Globe, the Boston Herald. It was in the Patriot Ledger. And we were criticized. The employees of this building was criticized. They were accused of stuff they didn't do. And it went on for 2 years. It made the employee's life miserable. When the case was settled and found out there was nothing wrong, where was it in the paper? It wasn't any. You could hear crickets. There wasn't any. So to me, the PI, all they're doing is putting inflammatory stories into their supposedly called newspaper so they can get, and you know, they're hurting for money, so they want more contributions, so they need big stories or inflammatory stories to raise funds. This is not the newspaper that I want. It's not what I expected. And Mr. Dambisi, I think you have a lot of chutzpah to get up and stand up to them because it's not right what they're doing. So unless if they have a problem with you or a problem with the town department, that's your job. That's Mr. DiNardo's job. That's his job. It's not just them to go out and make all these statements they can't back up. And it just causes a bunch of inflammatory statements. It causes trouble. It causes dissension. And it's not the thing that I want. And I wish to go out of business.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Meg Sheehan. I will set my timer for 3 minutes. So that I'm starting now.
We have it right here, but
Well,
thank you
just
for
so
trying
that
to
I
help
know.
us.
My name is Meg Sheehan. I'm coordinator of Community Land and Water Coalition, lifelong taxpayer in the town of Plymouth. Like many people, I am appalled by the situation with the town manager and the gag order on talking to the press, and I'm especially appalled with bringing my name into it and seeing an email posted with big caps that any discussion about Meg Sheehan is off the record, exclamation point. And this is what the town manager wrote in an email to the newspaper. So why? I have been bringing to light, as you know, many issues with regard to transparency and accountability in this town, in particular with the open meeting law. I was here last meeting asking you why all of these issues regarding the 1,000 acres, the 1,500 acres, and other land use decisions are being made in executive session and have been throughout 2024 at a time when the town is purporting to have a transparent master planning process with a master planning committee. And unfortunately, the words don't match the actions of the town. In particular, the planning board is running this master planning committee, and they have blatantly ignored the Cedarville Steering Committee recommendation that the permit for the 71 Hedges Pond Road sand mine be denied, and that is in front of the building inspector right now, and over 1,000 concerned Plymouth residents have sent a petition to the building inspector asking him to deny that permit. That has also been forwarded to the board, the select board here. I don't think anyone has gotten a response from the building inspector. Instead, when people have called the building inspector asking for information about an ongoing public process with a sand mining permit, they have been told they have to file a public records request. That information should be posted just like any other town online for under pending permit applications, and we have brought that up again and again. The Attorney General's office in April 2024 found an open meeting law violation in connection with the improper use of Purpose 6 for the discussions about closed-door discussions in executive session about the 1,000 acres, and yet here we are in December, on December 3rd of 2024, another closed-door discussion about the 1,000 acres. So this has to stop, and I hope the Plymouth Independent continues
clock
to
still
provide
working?
transparency. Yes, my time.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Hello, gentlemen. My name is Leslie Danielson, and I am here representing myself as a resident of Plymouth. Mr. Chairman, thank you for hearing my comments tonight. I would like to wholeheartedly thank this board for passing item number 4 on the administrative notes this evening. This board has been consistent and clear that no industrial wastewater, not one drop, be discharged into Cape Cod Bay. Subsequently, the gaseous release of the industrial wastewater due to prevailing winds that blow west to east will ultimately deposit some of this wastewater into Cape Cod Bay. The Ocean Sanctuary Act regulation specifically identifies the gaseous materials in their definition of waste, which is a direct violation of Section 15 of the Ocean Sanctuaries Act. I also want to just reference and mention the concerns of Dr. Britta Lundberg of the Greater Boston Physicians for Social Responsibility and Dr. Petros Koutrakis of the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health regarding their concerns of the evaporative release. For these reasons, I wholeheartedly thank you for your commitment in protecting Cape Cod Bay and for hearing my comments tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Weber?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board. For the record, my name is Dale Weber, and I'm appearing before you tonight as a town meeting member from Precinct 3, as well as an employee representative from the Collective Bargaining Relief Association with the acronym COBRA, which represents a little over 300 people split between the town and the school side of our government. When you said, Mr. Chairman, that is there anyone wanting to speak, I raised my hand, but then I realized you were saying anyone that wants to speak under public comment. I wanted to speak under Mr. Canty's presentation. And I'll be very brief because I know I've now learned that you guys have already voted on that, and I missed that vote. So I would have been here earlier on any attempt to once again go down the road of exploring consolidation, which has been pretty much addressed in the last 20 years with at least 2 formal committees made up of select board members, school committee members, and members at large from the public. So knowing that you already voted on this, I'll keep an eye on the future finance committee meetings as this works its way through the process. Did I understand that, well, I won't ask a question under public comment because I know your policy, but I think I heard that this is going to go to town meeting, so I know that the process to that will be the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee, and et cetera. I do agree with 2 of Mr. Canty's statements and the words he used in those. One was including the words, some of you are seeing this issue for the first time. Well, congratulations, that's me. It's the first time I've seen these proposals. And second is, Mr. Canty used the words status quo. I'm a big fan of status quo. I don't usually like change. Gentleman to my right will attest to that. But the issue is here that I believe this thing rings to me to be an attempt to get through a bylaw what couldn't get through town meeting with the last charter amendments. Article 21 proposed the very language speaking to the school's governance of its buildings and properties and the fact that that was going to be a charter language if it had passed. Well, it got soundly defeated. It only needed a 2/3 majority, but it was defeated by a 2-to-1 vote. Give me a sign, Mr. Quintal, when my 3 minutes is up, because I'll stop instantly. So I need to, I'll prepare for future comments as this thing winds its way through the process, but I just want to say that I don't appreciate the apparent end around as we await the new charter that we voted on October of 24 last year that is still at the, hasn't even got to the state yet. It's still being compiled as to the changes that town meeting made through the multitude of articles that we debated at the October town meeting. So I think it's premature to proceed with this matter while we don't have the current charter in front of us to see what needs to be amended and to see that we're taking what we couldn't accomplish at town meeting through a charter revision and instead are going forward now with a bylaw. To me, we're mixing apples and oranges, and I just oppose that concept. I take offense to the fact that town meeting spoke on this, and I understand that it's easier to make changes through a bylaw than it is charter, and that's why I'm speaking out, because what the employees of both groups appreciate is stability. And when we discuss things like this, after we just put multiple contracts to bed for 3 years, that stability is now in question. And that stability affects morale. And that's a big issue for me as a representative of the employees. So thank you very much for your time, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak under public comment? Ma'am?
Good evening. My name is Kate Brown, and I'm a resident in Precinct 1 of Plymouth. I have a couple of comments. First, I actually witnessed some of the Charter Review Committee meetings this past year. And as you all know, there were significant changes that went on between leadership and membership. I think they had a lot of questions about their authority and role. And now I see that we're looking at proposed bylaws, which, by the way, that I witnessed was only introduced very late in the committee, the Charter Committee proceedings. So I learned by studying that once the charter would go to the state, that there were actually some bylaws that could be amended. But I will tell you, and I don't feel like I'm very smart or very stupid, but the idea that we would have regular citizens without some education on exactly what they're doing with the charter and the bylaws is beyond me. It's not simple. It requires a lot of work and effort. And I would encourage the town, if you want to look at this, for that committee to extend its purpose to include proposing amended bylaws for the town meeting consideration, that there be some study about what's required of those members. It's not easy. I also want to make a comment tonight that to our town manager. I worked in public service for a long time. And one of our mottos was, whatever you do, make sure you're ready to defend it when the Boston Globe comes to talk about it. I was in state government. I really appreciate your letter today to the general public. I thought that was very forthcoming, and I appreciate it, and it helped me realize that there are two sides to this story. And I think that's what is required of all of us. I really do hope that we can find some kind of a nexus where the town and the Plymouth Independent can find a way to continue to communicate and inform all of us what's going on in town. Sometimes I read the Plymouth Independent and I think, really, sometimes it's sensationalized. And I'm thinking, like, do we really need to know about this? But in any event, I would encourage you all to make careful consideration about what you're asking the Charter Review Committee to do, because it is an awesome responsibility.
Ms. Brown, it's been 3 minutes. Do you need a little more time?
Nope, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else, excuse me, wishing to speak on the public comment? Seeing nobody online. Town Manager's report, Mr. Brandisi.
So I'm going to turn the operational update over to our Assistant Town Manager, but, part of my report this morning, this evening, was to talk about, my letter that I had drafted to the community. And, as pointed out, there are two sides to every story. I can say with certainty that we will work this out. But like any marriage and any relationship, there's going to be growing pains. And there were things that was happening, and this isn't about withholding information. I can't say that enough. We are not withholding information. Absolutely not withholding information. It's about setting the direction, setting up a process where we can give accurate information, and accurate information is reported, not sensationalized reporting. I could spend the next 2 hours talking about this frayed relationship, but I want to stay above the fray because my goal is to work with them. We have great relationships. We talked to the Boston Globe yesterday, as a matter of fact. We have great relationships with other media outlets. The Plymouth Independent, we haven't gotten there yet. But I never want anybody to believe that we are withholding information. I stood up at town meeting in last April, and I said, local government is the most transparent business, in my mind, in the world. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the private sector, They don't have to deal with public records. All you that work in the private sector, do you ever get a public records request? No, because you don't have to, right? You don't have open meeting laws that you have to abide by. Any email that I send is a public record. Any email that any public official sends is a public record. So there's nothing that we can withhold. It's all required by law. Do I take exception when sensationalized reporting that, in my mind, discredits town officials who I know are working hard each and every day? That we have undersized DPW, that we have an undersized fire department, an undersized police department, and they're still doing the work? And yeah, you bet your ass that bothers me when I see sensationalized reporting, because I know what those men and women are doing every day. I know what they're doing. So all of you that were in my seat who experienced what I experienced for 12 months, and my colleagues that work with me experienced that, you would understand where I'm coming from. But there was no muzzle, Mr. Cirque. There's never a muzzle. In fact, what I wrote is, until we can resolve this, we will cease communications. But the part that people are missing is I wrote in my email, until this is resolved. I sent a message through Mr. Canty the week prior. They said, this is our proposal. That came from the Plymouth Independent. We'll accept their proposal. And they ran the story anyways. So don't tell me that I'm not trying. We are trying. We are working with Independent. But I want things to be fair. I want them to be balanced. And they need to be accurate. They must be accurate. And if they're not accurate, then we're going to continue to run into these challenges. When someone says that, we have businesses that are worried about town officials retaliating against them, if that's the case, well, it's my job to discipline those employees. You know how many folks called me and said, I want to know who the town officials are that are retaliating against small businesses? I don't know what you're talking about. Never heard such a thing. Well, it's printed in the newspaper. This is what I'm talking about. We need to make sure that all information is fair, it's balanced, and it's accurate. That's the only thing I'm asking for. That's the only thing I'm asking for. That's not a lot to ask for. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to turn the remainder of the town manager report over to Mr. Gennaio. Thank you.
Okay. On a lighter note, I will begin by sharing a quick update on a couple of ongoing projects. The Department of Energy and Environment wanted to share with everybody and the public in general that the Jenny Pond dredging project is now in its third week, and work is going as planned. We are expecting about 2.5 more weeks of work left before the dredge is complete. Additionally, contractors are working on the wooden boardwalk at the waterfront, and they're going to begin demolition of the boardwalk that's behind the lobster hut on January 27th. The Department of Health and Human Services continues to bridge the gap between town government and our partners in the community by hosting a homeless roundtable tomorrow at the Cal at 9 a.m. This has been one of the leading goals of the board, and our Health and Human Services Department continues to develop good relationships with local stakeholders to help those in need in our community. The Pilgrim, I think somebody already brought it up, the Pilgrim 1,600-acre area plan process has officially begun, and an online survey requesting feedback from the community went live yesterday. In its first day, we've already received over 300 responses, which shows the interest and dedication of our residents. So we encourage folks to continue showing their interest and support by going on our website to get more information on the process, see upcoming scheduled meetings, and take the survey so that we can hear from you on the future of this property. Right now, you just need to go on the main website, and under news, you'll find a news link with that information. So click on it. That'll take you to the website and any other additional information in regards to this project. And last but not least, we received notification from our neighbors in the town of Duxbury that the Powder Point Bridge will be closed for repairs starting next Monday, January 20th. The folks in Duxbury anticipate that construction will go until the end of March, so access to Saquesh during that time frame will be via the town of Marshfield. Our first responders at the police and fire department are aware of this temporary disruption and have adapted accordingly in order to ensure adequate public safety response during construction. If the board has any questions, please let us know. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Gennaio? No? Okay then. Select board discussion, new business? Is that a maybe? No? New business?
I got some new, I have some new and old, some new business. Jenny Pond, Silvio, I get a call from one of the businesses down there, the restaurant down there, and there's 6 or 7 vehicles that are parked in that parking lot, and there's only about 15 spaces. So they're requesting that, I was told before they were going to park inside the fence. And I know David had talked to them about it. If you could reach out to David to get down and speak to them. Also, there's a truck down there, it was brought to my attention, it's been there for a week, it has a flat tire. So it doesn't belong there, they find out who the owner is, hopefully they can remove it, get the tire towed, get the car towed, because the spaces, the lunch business down there, the businesses told me they're really hurting bad. And so they need all the parking they can get. The old business that I had is I still want to get an answer about doing a power wash for the downtown businesses have been asking. I'm attending their meeting, which there's another one on Monday, the Downtown and Waterfront District business meeting, and I'm going to tell you that's getting a lot more active. There's a lot of businesses now taking part in this. In fact, this meeting Monday is going to be probably the most ever. And that's something that they brought to my attention. And until we can get a power scrubber, and I don't know how we can get that, it's probably $150,000 or something. I'm not sure what this piece of equipment costs. It's something that we need desperately. So if we can talk to a DPW director, find out if that's even possible. But in the meantime, and again, maybe Mr. Weber can give us some guidance on how we can get the DPW to maybe some weekend, maybe a Saturday, one side of downtown, maybe a Sunday, another side, come in with power wash trucks, to scrub this, power wash the sidewalks. I think it would be a nice touch. And if it goes over well, maybe we could do that a couple times a year until we can get this machine. So I'd appreciate whatever help we can get on that. And as far as new business, I just want to talk about, I wasn't going to make a comment about this, the PI in this story. My opinion is that we should just continue to work on projects that we're doing to help the town and let this all work out and not be concerned about what people are, and I'm not talking to you directly, just I know myself, because I was in that article a little bit too. I'm not concerning myself for what people think about me or what they think about what I'm doing. There's a lot of work being done. I'm working with the Health and Human Service, helping the seniors with this age, dementia-friendly community. With the Purple Table, we have a meeting next week on that with the businesses. Tomorrow, I'm on the task force, the senior task force. We're meeting tomorrow on that. I'm involved. I'm getting involved through Health and Human Services with Father Bills, because we have a homeless problem that's not going to go away, and we're working on plans to try and help that project. In the meantime, working with the downtown waterfront, and I'm not just talking me. I'm talking the whole board. The things that we are doing, because it's not I. We are trying to help the downtown. You have plans to revitalize the downtown, and this is all positive work that we're getting done. That's sometimes you don't hear about that. You don't hear about that. So, but I just want to just focus on the positive work that we're doing for the town. And I hear about the concerns after taxes. Well, we're trying to come up with some commercial tax revenue, and we have people in the room that think that if anybody wants to do any commercial development, it's called sand mining. And there's a time and a place. And I think, sometimes what's being called sand mining, I call it development. So we have to be careful. We can't have a moratorium on any sand and gravel coming out of our ground, because that's like saying we don't want any more development. And the last thing I'm going to say is there's a letter out there that's, hopefully it's on Facebook, I'm not sure, but I read it, it was sent to me, And it kind of explains, Robert Zuccaroli wrote this letter. It's a long letter, and it talks about, if you read it, you might think a little bit differently about what's going on with the PA. And again, I'm not taking a stance for or against them. I just know that I feel the same thing. Print factual information. Don't put a headline out there to sell newspapers. Don't sensationalize, because you're hurting people. People are getting hurt by it. And there's something came out today, another story, that could potentially hurt an employee. So I'll leave it at that. But let's concentrate on working for Plymouth to help Plymouth, because that's what I've always done. It's why I became a selectman, to try and help Plymouth. If you don't like me, you don't want to vote for me, go ahead, that's fine. But, I care about this town, and I'm going to I want to work positively to help the town. So that's my new business. I hope everybody can do the same thing. Thank you.
Mr. Mahoney?
So just touching on the First Amendment issue we've been discussing. So I joined this board years ago with Mr. Quintal. And if you go back to that time at 11 Lincoln Street, you would go into a meeting on a Tuesday night, and there would be a table out here, probably right around the first row of the seats that you see tonight. And 9 times out of 10 on a meeting, there'd be a representative there from WATD in Marshfield, and there would be a writer, there'd be a reporter from the Old Colony Memorial, 9 times out of 10.
And the Enterprise?
If an issue was a little bit bigger, to larger than the town or the county, you'd see the Brockton Enterprise, you could see the Quincy Ledger come down. There might be 3 to 5 people there, and if things were completely crazy, you might see a television camera from Boston. But back then, the Old Colony came out on Wednesday and Saturday. The reporter would get a hold of you if they were looking for, your contribution or a quote for a story, and they would tell you, we're going to print on this day. You get 48 hours. If you can get back to me before Tuesday at 1, that would be great, John. And, it was regimented and it was planned, and you had time to do that. And, this media has evolved significantly in the last decade. Now when you go to online content, I don't want Ms. Kennedy, our communications coordinator, and I don't want the town manager answering a public safety question for the police chief or for the fire chief, or something in detail about infrastructure that the DPW department or Energy and Environmental Affairs should handle. I want it to come from them. So the problem is that if you're trying to get something online within 24 hours, and this building closes down on a Friday at 12, and it doesn't open until 7:30 on Monday morning. So are we mandating, because I don't want to be part of mandating, town employees are going to have to pick up the phone over the course of a weekend and answer these press inquiries. So, Ms. Brown introduced probably the word of the night, Nexus. How do we get there? There was a story within the last year where, a private individual attributed a certain quote to a department head. My phone started ringing off the hook. And from there, of course, I had to sit down with the editor of the PI at Kiskadee. And I think we're all on the same page. We all want to, these stories to be accurate, factual. I think they are a positive addition to the community, and they're well needed. We just have a couple of more steps to, a couple of more hurdles to get over, and, how do we get to that end game where we're kind of all on the same page, and we can facilitate, accurate and responsible reporting on our end, and then they can take the stories from there.
Anyone else wishing to comment? New business? Old business? I have some old business. Happy birthday, Charlie. I was waiting all night for that, Charlie. And since everybody's chiming in on the press issue, I, like John, been around many years, and I was going to actually bring that up just like you did. I knew just what you were going to say. We had 3 newspapers in WATD, and it always worked out one way or another. Do we have bad days? Sure, I did with them, and that's just the way it goes. But this isn't about muzzling any information of the town. I just want to be clear on that, because for one, I wouldn't tolerate that. I don't think anybody at this table would. But however, if you ask me if I want it correct, I'd say yes. And I would say this to you before all this, before the Independent, because if anyone asks me about the press, this is what my answer always has been. I don't mind the press. They don't have to agree with me. They can write what they want about me, but I want it to be correct and true. If you can give me those 2 right away, and when it's not, then it's an issue. And it's going to keep festering. If you look at, and I think Ms. Brown accrued to it earlier, that the mood of the country is a little, I don't know what the right word is here, but it's very active and very negative. You know, I think back to COVID. I think of the fires in California. And amongst all that and all the division and everything else, people come to answer the call, and they work together, and that's what it is. And that's why I'm sitting here. It isn't for the pay. It isn't for, you know, and I'm not looking for glory. I'm a very humble person. I'll help anybody, and that's what I'm trying to do here. I love my town, just like I'm sure these other guys sitting here do. So I'm not going to ramble all night about it, but I wouldn't tolerate for 1 minute holding information. That's not, and that's the turn that it looks, you know, I don't have the time, to be honest with you, to go through Facebook and that, but, you know, somebody will send me a little clip of that and a clip of that, and I did get on there and comment once to a resident, because I knew a resident was going down the wrong path, and I knew if I reached out to her that she would understand, and she did right away. And I don't need to stand up and be a cheerleader for Mr. Brandisi or Mr. Janeo. I said it right that time. And, you know, I just want the people in the community to know I would never tolerate that or support that in any which way. So, but what it is, and I hope it kind of stops, and you can come to middle ground, you know, but there's a protocol, and I think that's really what it boils down to, a protocol. We have a communications director, I believe that's the correct title? Casey Kennedy, that's who our press person is. And they need to go through that. And to be quite honest with you, this is a very serious thing to a point, but I don't want to be taking all this board's time and my staff's time, when I say staff in this house, dwindling on this too much. We got a lot of things going on in this town, and we need to pay attention. There's a lot of false accusations from Cedarville right up here to Main Street. And that's the problem that aggravates me the most. I'll use that word, because it does. I work hard for this town, and so do these other members here. So if you get it straight, and you know what, and there's mistakes, no one's perfect, but if they get it straight, and I hope they do, then I guess we carry on. If not, I don't know what to tell you, what's going to happen with that. That's up to the management and the communications director under his direction. So if you was wondering if I was one of the 4, as Mr. Cirque put it, yes, I was. And I wouldn't just do that without reason. So for 20 years sitting here and dealing with press, I never had an issue before. I guess that puts it plain and simple. So that being said, I would just like to go back to a little bit of old business, because Mr. Weber, I apologize if you wanted to speak to Mr. Canty's articles, and if there's another time you want to speak about it, but I do remember this conversation when we took the vote. I said, if the workforce wasn't in favor or in agreement with this, that I would bring it back and we would table it. So I just, that was December 17th. I don't know if that was the date, but I did bring that up, that I wouldn't support it if the workforce wasn't in favor with it. Because I can tell you this too, the workforce is usually the first ones on the boat when you're trying to make changes. I mean, whether it's medical insurance or anything like that, you have to get them on board in the beginning rather than shoving it at them. You have to have communication. So for that reason, I don't know if you saw that meeting, but that's basically what I said. And that's it for me. That's too much. Anyone else? Okay. Motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
First, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Have a good week.